Hello, my name's Al and today I'm going to show you how to set up your front derailleur. Some people struggle to set up their front derailleurs. Generally, this is because the initial setup was incorrect or because the person setting it up doesn't fully understand what all the adjustments do. So I'm going to try and explain that to you. Good thing is, you don't need many tools. So Phillips number 2 and a couple of Allen keys, generally a 4mm and a 5mm is all you need to do the job. The first thing to get right when you're setting up a front mech is its position on the bike itself. So it attaches to your front mech hanger here and you can adjust its height and its angle. The height should be so that this outer cage here clears the teeth of the largest chainring by about 2mm. If it's a brand new mech, you'll have a little orange sticker on there with a Shimano mech just to show exactly where the teeth should line up so you can get it at the exact right height. The outside cage here needs to line up perfectly with the chain rings, so it needs to be properly straight. If that's not the case, you're never going to get your front mech set up properly. So make sure you've got it located properly on the frame before you begin. There's two main adjustments on the front mech. We have cable tension, which is done at the cable clamp here initially, and most bikes will have an inline cable adjuster as well, so you can tweak things. And you'll also have your limit screws. So you'll have two screws which are labelled H and L, which are for your high and low limits. So they control the range of movement that the mech has, prevents the chain from being overshifted over the top of the large chainring or off the small chainring and onto the bottom bracket shell. So it's very important that we get those set up correctly. On new Shimano mechs, on the higher end mechs at least, there's a couple of other adjustments. If your mech's been fitted properly, then you shouldn't have to worry about these, but I'll just let you know quickly. Behind the cable clamp here, you see this little pin. This can be removed and switched around. Now that will change the way that the cable runs into the cable clamp. There is a tool available that Shimano make. It does come with the mechs that are equipped with that feature. It's a TL-FD68 tool, and that should tell you which position that should be in on your particular bike. The other adjustment is a stiffener for the front mech. Basically, there's a grub screw runs straight through the center of the mech. It's adjusted using a 2mm Allen key, and I don't know if you can see that, but that mech is moving side to side. It's lining it up with the chainring basically. So the way that it's fitted is when you first mount it onto the front derailleur hanger, you mount it so the tail is in slightly, and then we tighten this grub screw until it's swung out and it's perfectly parallel with the chain rings. This grub screw hits either a stick-on plate that you stick onto the seat tube that you get with the front derailleur, or if your front derailleur hanger is substantial enough, that grub screw will hit the front derailleur hanger. That's the most ideal situation really, but if that's not the case, always use that stick-on plate, otherwise you'll damage your frame. So the mech's in place on the hanger, it's all good. So now we're gonna set the cable tension and the limit screws. So just make sure that our shifter is all the way down into first gear, or smallest sprocket. We are actually in first gear because at the back we also want to be in the largest sprocket. So the chain is as fully over as it ever will be, and we're going to adjust the low limit screw, and we're going to adjust that so the chain only just clears the inner plate of the front derailleur. With that in place, we're going to fit our cable. So on this particular Shimano derailleur, there's an arrow indicating where the cable needs to go, and it is behind that pin. I showed you earlier. And then we're pulling the cable as tight as we can. Sits in this little channel, and we're clamping it up. Like so. Now, when we shift, we're looking for the chain to shift up onto the bigger chain ring. Now you can hear that rubbing. The tension clearly isn't sufficient. It gets even worse as we shift down at the back onto the other end of the cassette. So what we need there is some more cable tension. So we're going to add that with our inline barrel adjuster, and we're going to wind that out to provide some extra tension. And we should find that that's clearing the chain now. There is still a little bit of rubbing. That may be down to the high limit screw not being set correctly. If it's wound in too far, the mech won't be able to shift far enough over, so it will rub on the chain. So if we back that out, that should allow the front derailleur to move over slightly and clear the chain. So you can hear it's nice and quiet now. That adjuster, you should feel, as you tighten it down, as the high adjuster, you should feel it, the end of the screw actually contact the mech in its current place. So you know that that's set correctly. You know there's no way that that mech can overshift that chain off the big chain ring. We shift back down, make sure that it shifts smoothly onto the inner chain ring. And it does. The limit's set correctly because we did that initially before we even clamped the cable. So that is our low and high limit screws set correctly, as well as our cable tension. We just shift through all the gears, make sure it's doing what it should do. Make sure we can't fire the chain off onto the bottom bracket shell or off the large chain ring. That's all nice and secure, so we know whilst we're riding we're not going to have our chain derail. So you should have the front derailleur set up properly by now. If you're having a bit of trouble, then there's a few things that you need to think of in order to try and make things right. If the chain is failing to shift back onto the small chain ring from the big chain ring, there's two things that could be preventing that. Either your low stop is wound in too far and it's preventing the derailleur from moving that far, or you've got too much cable tension, which will do the same thing. If you're struggling to get from the small chain ring to the big chain ring, there's two reasons why that could be a problem. Either your high stop is wound in too far, again limiting the movement of the mech, or you have insufficient cable tension. So you need more cable tension to pull that mech over to stick the chain onto the big chain ring. If the chain is over shifting the big chain ring, then your high stop is undoubtedly set incorrectly. That needs to be corrected, otherwise your chain's going to fall off every time you stick it in the big ring. The final issue that you might have is that the chain derails off the small chain ring onto the bottom bracket shell. Reason for that will be that your low stop hasn't been wound in sufficiently. So you need to wind that in a bit more to prevent the mech from moving that far inboard, which will derail the chain. That should be it. So that's it. Hopefully that sorted out any front mech woes that you had. I know how annoying they can be, so yeah, hopefully they're all resolved for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, see ya.